Welcome to the All 32 podcast. Mike Giardi alongside Will Parkinson. As always, it is the divisional round. A lot of people will tell you it's the best weekend of football. Let's hope it's the best weekend of football because the wild card stuff was pretty bleh. Again, never considered the best week of football, but I'd like some better ball this week. A reminder, the show brought to you by Prize Picks, the exclusive daily fantasy partner of the CLNS Media Network, and Game Time, best tickets, best prices to get you into any event you want to see. Before we get to the games, Will, let's run through some of the coaching stuff that's going on as a lot of these searches are entering the second stage, the final stage, what have you. We'll start with your team, the New York Jets, who I believe have approximately interviewed 123 people for the GM and head coaching jobs. I think that's right. Any sense of where they're at in this process?
Yeah, I think we're actually at 274. The Jets have interviewed more people than they've won in games combined in like the last 6 years. Look, I think at the end of the day, a couple of things are at work here. One, to be fair to the Jets, the guys they want are still coaching, mainly Aaron Glenn.
Yep.
Now, and up until this week, Brian Flores, Josh McCown, Aaron Glenn, all coaching. Joe Brady, still coaching. Those are the top four, in my opinion, that have the best shot at the Jets job. Two of the four can only interview starting Friday. The other two can't interview anymore until they're out, until next week. So they're kind of just like, this is a theory Albert Breer floated, and I do tend to agree. It feels like the Jets are interviewing candidates that are maybe not the right fit for a head coach. Could be a DC, could be an offensive coordinator, could be a special teams guy, and a little bit of the 33rd team knowing they're going to get hired to do this again if they get this right, and they can have a database of guys they've interviewed. So a mixture there. I think Aaron Glenn's the favorite. I think there's been a lot of stuff on my other podcast, Rich Sweeney, Aaron Glenn said it's his dream job. Bill Parcells and him talk every single week, which is really cool, honestly. Glenn played for the Jets, first-round pick. He helped turn them around in 97, 98. He was a scout there. Again, he is a Parcells tree guy. Parcells and the Jets had a really good relationship those 3 years. Only Jets GM and head coach to leave with a winning record. Pretty cool there. But yeah, I think that's where they're at. The GM search is the more puzzling one. They've interviewed, I believe, 11 of the 15, or no, more than that. Sorry. They've interviewed 15 or 16 there. They have not requested second round interviews yet. And they've done a lot of these in person. The Titans went virtual, then in person. The Jets went a lot of in person to start. Mike Borgonzi, who I think is likely the best candidate. They have, again, not requested second rounds. They have not requested any more people to speak to. They just, frankly, haven't done bleep in 2 days now. And I'm not entirely sure why. I think from everything you hear, there's three schools of thought from digging I've done. Some people believe they haven't been wowed. Some people believe they're taking their time because they want to time it up where the GM will get hired right when they can hire the coach. And they go from there. They know they're really only the true GM opening. The other two are a little bit fuzzy, depending on how you look at it. Mm-hmm. And the other school of thought is they're just going to make an offer here and not even do second rounds. I think it's a combination of 1 and 3. I think that there's a chance they don't even do it. And I think there's also a shot where they maybe haven't been wowed. Mike, this is the example I'll use, and I'll move off the Jets here. And I know there's some other names we want to get to. The Jets so badly want to win. And I think it's an admirable quality. They have not done a good job of it, and people will laugh at that sentiment. But there's organizations that don't give a crap about winning. I'll tell you that. And the Jets, Woody Johnson wants to win. He wants to host a home playoff game. All these things are true. He's a little bit like, at the moment, a guy who's just – his wife just left him. It didn't work out. Was fully invested, and unfortunate. And it was a messy divorce. And is like looking for the next girl or vice versa, role reverse it, whatever you want to do it. And they're just looking for a reason to not pick somebody. Hey, she's great, all these different things, but this is wrong with her. I don't know. She doesn't like cheese, or just some stupid example. That's a little bit what it feels like. Hey, Mike Borgonzi's this and this and this, but I don't know. I don't love this, or Alec Halaby's this, or Lance Newark's this, or pick the name. It doesn't matter. That's just a little bit what it feels like right now for head coach and GM. But I do think head coach feels a little bit easier to figure out, even though it should be the other way around.
Yeah, and there was a report sort of, at least out of New Orleans football, my guy Nick Underhill was like, he talked to some people close to Glenn who said Glenn doesn't necessarily think that the Jets thing is, that's his dream job. But, I mean, we'll see. He's getting a job in this cycle.
To be fair, I will,
yep.
to get Nick's credit, he is as plugged in as anybody, A. And B, from what I understand, at least from what Rich reported, Glenn said that a couple years ago when we were down in Mobile, when the Lions were coaching. Things could have changed in the last 3 years. I don't doubt that it would be his dream job. Again, just a guy who played 8 years here, got his scouting start here, his coaching start. So, like, there's a real love for New York and the Jets, but he also had a really successful time in New Orleans. And the Jets' job's a better job than New Orleans, but I would understand there's probably less pressure. We've talked about this. There's probably more leeway. So, hey, money will talk, opportunity will talk. And I think those are two openings that Joe Brady in New Orleans, a name to watch. Mike McCarthy, a name if he does not get the Bears job. Do him and Rodgers and Devontae team up down in New Orleans with a defense that bad division, pretty good defense. That's one of those, like, do they just shot in the arm this thing and hope they get 1 year of, like, Rodgers is better next year playing indoors 17 times? I don't know. It's at least something to think about.
All right, so there's the Jets. We mentioned New Orleans as part of that conversation where McCarthy, Brady, and Aaron Glenn seem to be the top three, whatever order you want to talk about.
It looks like they're going to lose Clint Kubiak, which is not great.
It appears that he will be the OC of Seattle. That seems to be
– it's a great thing for Geno.
Yeah, really is. Really
might want
is.
to fix that offensive line, but
how about this one from Edwarder, who's as plugged in as anybody with the Dallas Cowboys? He says that Deion Sanders, currently the coach of the University of Colorado, would absolutely take the Cowboys job if he's offered. Off of that, if you're Jerry Jones, do you offer Deion Sanders that job?
No.
So I'm right there with
you. I'm gonna be really harsh on the Cowboys here, and I think it's extremely well deserved. What are you doing? Like, genuine question. What are you doing? A couple of things. One, timing. Mike McCarthy did everything that you should have done in 2024 to retain his job. You wanted to fire him after 23 on another early playoff exit. Understood. Hey, the expectations here. You only got to here. You took us to, you got us to third base. We need a home run hitter. Cool. I would have been totally good with this. It goes back to the Jets and some of these other organizations. Mike McCarthy with a really not good Cowboys team this year that basically had nobody play at all year. It felt like CD was basically hurt the whole year. Weird when you hold out and you don't practice all camp. Usually you get hurt. Dak, who didn't hold out but like might as well have held out, gets hurt, misses a ton of the year. All the defenses hurt the whole year. And they decimated the roster. They lose the DC, the whole thing. Though Mike did a really good job of actually one of his better coaching years. I really believe that, of like, dude, he's Cooper Rush and Trey Lance, and like they were competitive pretty much every week. They had some big time wins. I don't know. I think beating the Commanders and stuff like they did. Like, I don't know. Am I wrong here? Like,
well, the timing thing is interesting too because and I don't want to go deep down.
Chicago, and then they didn't end up working a deal. It was very unprofessional. It felt like.
And then there's the other part of this, and I don't want to go too far down the Bill Belichick road.
Bill wanted a job.
But as there have been multiple reports, we're taping this Thursday, 4:37 in the afternoon, that there would have been mutual interest. Dallas in Belichick, Belichick in Dallas, and we can say whatever we want about Belichick coaching college. Belichick apparently has not signed the contract yet. So this $10 million buyout that exists, he signed the memorandum of whatever, however they determine that, but he has not actually taken pen to paper and done the Bill Belichick and the BBs where he's got to do all that stuff. So he hasn't done it. So does that not come into play? Maybe, maybe not. Meanwhile, he is, and his Mike Lombardi, his henchman, continues to spout about Twitter, which is hilarious because Mike Lombardi talks out of both sides of his mouth. He's made a living talking out of both sides of his mouth. And now he's saying, leave us alone. We're in North Carolina. We're recruiting. We're building a team. Okay, sign the contract. And then that will.
Yeah, why haven't you signed the deal? They made it seem like it's common practice. I've never heard this before.
Yeah.
I think
it's been multiple months. And there have been reports that even like as far as the ACC commissioner is a little nervous about what's going on there. Like, because obviously it's a boon to have Belichick in the conference.
Yeah. Why are we? If I was making a list of the 5 most likely people to get this job, I'd probably rank it. I think Kellen Moore is probably 1, which wouldn't excite me at all if I'm a Cowboys fan. I don't think he's that great of an OC. I think there's a reason. When you're a talented OC and a former player like that, you don't go to 3 jobs in 3 years. That doesn't feel like that's, just in my opinion, usually a really good OC. You're either moving up or you're in one spot for a long time. Kellen Moore would probably be 1. I think I'd put Witten 2, which feels insane. I'd probably put Bill 3. I'd probably put Saleh 4, and I'd put Deion 5.
Well, if you're doing what's best for the football team, Bill would have obviously, at least based on past history.
There. Barry Parcells in 2004, Mike?
Sure.
Walk away and then.
Yeah, I feel, but as we well know, Jerry wants someone that he can control. And so when you mention someone like Jason Witten, like you're a figurehead.
Yeah, Jason Garrett over again. It's just a more intimidating looking guy.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, we get a report of Jason Witten being too big in interviews.
Yeah. How about if we get a report about Jason Witten too bad at television? God, would be awful.
Would you hire Deion? I mean, Deion does make sense from a brand Cowboys thing, but he kind of said he'd only leave to coach his sons, and I don't. We floated this idea before, and the Jets and many other teams would probably jump at the idea of trading for Dak Prescott. The $104 million, I don't know if you can convince Deion to take the job, capital for the number 1 or number 2 pick, and eat all that money. Would Jerry have patience with Deion to say, we're going to do this thing, you and Shador and Shiloh, who's not an NFL player, but whatever, and we're going to get capital back. I mean, look, I think if I was the Jets, I'd trade the 7th overall pick for Dak in a heartbeat. I mean, Dak on the Jets next year with some better coaching, they'd be pretty scary in the division. That's not romanticizing this team. The Dolphins, if you wanted to flip Dak and Tua, like I'd feel like better about whatever, but would there be patience? Because I think that's what the Cowboys be tough. Deion's first year, would you be okay being bad? He was at Colorado and there was exciting in the beginning. So maybe that'd be my question. Like, what if they're not good next year?
From a branding and headline standpoint, it's a home run, right? It's an even bigger home run than hiring Belichick, right? Yeah. And then the whole Shador factor, you spin off of that and like shows, documentaries, blah, 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 blah. The question is he good enough, right? Like, and I mean, I personally think the idea of a father coaching his son or sons at the NFL level is absurd. And you can tell me they made it work in Colorado. I just think like the moment players start to sense that you're treating that kids differently, like, what are we doing? Right. Like, what are we doing? So that's an interesting one. Ben Johnson to the Raiders seems like it has really caught some steam. I think
credit. You were all over this. I still don't get it, but you were all over this.
Well, I mean, so look, I wonder about the Bears' power structure. If that was a deterrent or has been a deterrent for him, or a little concern for Ben Johnson, as we've talked about. Kevin Warren, Ryan Poles not telling anybody whether he's got an extension or not. Warren lords over all of it. He wants to be commissioner of the NFL someday. I don't understand the power structure there, and I think that would be concerning. I think the other part, if you're Ben Johnson, even though again, Rome Odunze, DJ Moore, obviously Caleb Williams, and all these different sorts of things, and a fairly talented defense, you're in that division. You could go in that division, and you could be a really good coach, and you could still end up being 4th in that division, the way the division has shaken out the last couple of years. Or even if, say, Minnesota takes a step back, if they make the switch to J.J. McCarthy next year, if that's something that happens, okay, so maybe you win 8 games, and then you're still behind. So I don't know. To me, in terms of some of the talent that's available, yes, but in terms of power structure and division, no. The Jaguars is another one where we've heard mention that Jaguars team, though, it feels like Johnson, Liam Cohen, and maybe Brian Flores.
Oh, no. I think you're missing the favorite. I think Robert Saleh is the odds-on.
You think Saleh is the favorite? I got to tell you. So,
how do you sell that?
I've discounted him in any of these searches. Like if Dallas hired him, as you mentioned earlier, like when you were doing your little, okay, I could, like because that's a Jerry move. If you're Jacksonville, how do you sell it? How do you sell it? And especially for me, if I'm looking at it as the owner, I invested $250 million in Trevor Lawrence. He's not a $250 million
I'll tell you how
quarterback.
Saleh's going to sell it. He's going to go into that meeting and say, apparently, according to the Jaguars people, I've seen, like, he's the one who got away, which is insane. He's going to sell them. I never had a quarterback in New York. I only got 5 games this year. We were 2-3. Look what happened when they fired me. The defense fell off. I'll make this a top 5 defense within 12 months. If you get Trevor Lawrence, 1 or 2 more playmakers, I'll bring DJ Reed with me. I'm going to bring, a couple of Jets guys that are free agents. And this is a winnable division. I look at what I did against CJ Stroud both times I played him, and he's very good at playing the part. And as crazy as it sounds, because things went so badly with the Jets at the end, even though reality, that's not the real story, but you could sell, if you weren't paying attention, you could sell it that way. I could see him saying, look, I'm not going to cause a fuss here. Like, I've worked here. I know this market. Look, I have my quarterback now. And like, I never had it with the Jets, and we were 7 look what I did. I got them 7-10 back-to-back years with Zach Wilson. Like with Trevor, now at least I have a top 15 guy, and Aaron wasn't healthy. Like he's going to do the whole thing. And I just wonder if you're Liam Cohen, you're a year away from one more year with, you probably have the pick of the litter as the offensive coordinator for the Bucs. And if you want the Bucs job and you want to stick around for that, Bowles isn't going to get fired after 3 straight division titles, but we could get to a point at some point where Todd Bowles says, hey, maybe I've been doing this forever. I might just be done. I don't know. I'm just speculating.
Yeah.
And then the other guys that are up for that job, Ben Johnson, are you working with Trent Baalke? It seems like Lance Newark, who's in Washington, was in with Detroit for a long time, would be Ben Johnson's potential pick in Vegas. Another name that's interviewed with the Jets as well. It kind of gets late early for them. And I wonder, does Flores want to go work for Shad Khan? Stephen Ross.
I just think Flores needs a job.
I think he needs a job, and that'd be a great hands-off market. Sure. Him and Saleh, for some reason, as much as I don't think they're very different, but both guys struggled with ownership, quarterbacks, offensive coordinators. I don't know. That would be it's a hard sell to Jags fans, but Shad Khan really only cares about the fans that are in London. So does it really matter?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Like you said, I don't know how you sell that.
I picked him to finish last in that division if that's what they did.
Oh, like that easily. Like I'll take the under. It is playoff time. It is now or never. Don't miss out on the last few weeks of football action with Prize Picks, the best place to win cash while watching the playoffs. You can win up to 1,000 times your money on Prize Picks. All you got to do is pick more or less on as 2 players and as many as 6 to win your cash. All you got to do, download the app, use the code CLNS. You get $50 off your first $5 lineup after you play $5 rather. So again, $50 off. You don't even have to win the $5. Just download the app today. Prize Picks. Run your game all season long. All right, let's get into the games, of which there are 4. And that's probably the one I like the least. We'll start with the one I like the least, which happens to be the first game on Saturday afternoon. The Texans, fresh off their beatdown of the Chargers, visit the Kansas City Chiefs. The 2 teams played back on December the 21st. Close game, as the Chiefs played a lot of those this year. 27-19 your final. That was the game, of course, if you remember, Tank Dell getting his knee blown out in the end zone. CJ Stroud, very emotional. That's his best friend. Knowing that all he had gone through to get back on the field and then to see that happen to him. Brutal. Meanwhile, the Chiefs have basically had a double bye week because they sat out week 18 as well. So their injury list is about as clean as possibly can be. 23 days off it will be for many of their star players coming into this one. I guess first things first, do you worry at all about rust for a team that, look, obviously they've lost what, twice all year? Like it's not like they've struggled, but it hasn't been the same dominating Chiefs team. Do you worry about the idea of rust with this football team?
Yeah, they're kind of the opposite of last year, where their record wasn't as good last year as it normally was, but you were like, all right, like they've lost some, there's some hiccups. This year was like they just won every game they should have no business winning, which to their credit is what good teams do.
Yep.
I will say this. I'm not like 10 out of 10 concerned, but I'm mildly concerned where 23 days off is a really long time, like really long. That is not, we're not talking, that's over, but like
yeah.
we're talking over 3 weeks off. I mean, and no matter what anyone says, you played football at a high level, played football, like, dude, you're off for a week and you feel like crap the first time you get back. And the NFL is not the NFL of 30 years ago where you're hitting full speed in practice 2-3 days a week. Like, when's the last time that Patrick Mahomes got hit? Seriously, like, it's almost been a month, and you kind of need that to get yourself back into the game. And I don't feel like they were playing like the most elite of elite ball. So I think they're better than the Texans. I think they should be comfortably win this game. But sometimes you need one performance to snap you out of it. And I don't know if Houston's got enough horses. I don't know if the offensive line is going to be good enough. I don't know if they're going to tackle well enough. But I will say those pass rushers are legit. The tackles have been bad. And Joe Thuney is awesome pro. I don't know if he's Hall of Fame level, but he's really good NFL player, Pro Bowl level. Like, well, you'll look back and be like, wow, that guy was always really good. Little Logan Mankins-ish, like kind of maybe not to that level, but that type of guy where you're like, you just feel like that dude was always awesome. He's a left tackle right now because they need him to be. And Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson are top tier 1 edge guys. They're not like good, they're elite. And Danielle Hunter's a problem. And I just worry a little bit of like rust mixed with those guys got heated up last week, and Stingley's going to take whoever they want out of the game. And you just kind of start going, and you're like, I don't know, D'Amico and Kenny, he's seen this offense once. He's a really good defensive coach. Can he keep them in check long enough? Can CJ? My biggest worry is Bobby Sloak and CJ. I'm actually not worried as much about. I don't think they're going to get gashed for 24, 31, 35 points. Maybe they will, and maybe I'm wrong, but I actually feel like my biggest worry is Spags versus CJ, who has not handled pressure well this year at all, and this offensive line who has not been the same offensive line it was a year ago. That is much more concerning to me, especially Tank Dell. They're going to have to run the football here. Mike, I think this game will be closer. This is the key to this game, at least in my opinion. If Kansas City gets out 10-0, this game is so over, it's not even funny. And I know that's probably obvious, but 10-0 in the NFL is nothing. If Houston gets out early and can start to pin, and they can force Kansas City to be very one-dimensional, and you can start to pin your ears back, they got a shot. And the longer this game stays tight, Kansas City's got a lot of pressure. They can tell everybody we have no pressure, the fans feel nothing, and the whole thing. I don't know, man. When you're going for a three-peat, we don't see this stuff happen. So that's just my take is like there's things Houston does really well that would scare me as a Chiefs fan. But at the end of the day, unless they really are really rusty, they should take care of business in advance on Sunday or Saturday.
It's just kind of how their season has gone, right? Like not the same Chiefs that we're used to seeing.
They're just not dominating. They don't.
Yeah, they just find ways to win. They're in the game in the fourth quarter, and they find ways to win the game where they're up, and they manage to hang on. You mentioned Slowick and Stroud. One of my big takeaways from the Chargers game was they actually did 3-step drops. Instead of everything having to be play action, push the ball deep down the field, there was actually some, oh my goodness, not that a 3-step drop should be a eureka moment in the National Football League, but for some reason for Bobby Slowick, they were.
Oh, another guy who interviewed for the Jets today. Very deserving.
Yes. I mean, if they hire Bobby Slowick, I I'm sorry. That's all I can say to you is I
I'll
would
be
be
like
sorry.
Arthur Smith and Ryan Grigson. Get ready to burn tickets, buddy.
um,
Is there any way they win this game, Houston?
I don't think so. I don't think that I think they've had a weird year this year. I know some other guys stepped up in the game the other day, but they're still pretty much Nico Collins in the passing game and pray. Um, the interior of their offensive line, we've talked about repeatedly, has been bad this year. And Chris Jones will probably be taken by Steve Spagnuolo and say, who's the weakest link? Is it the left guard? Is it the center? Is it the right guard? We're going to move you over them in big situations and watch you eat or get doubled. And then now that you've had all this time off, Karlaftis is feeling better on the outside. Some of your other pieces are feeling better. And I'm just guessing there's going to be a little bit more juice in their pass rush than we saw late in the season.
I think this is going to be the game where everyone picks KC. It'd be a huge upset, obviously. Next week's the week where I feel like the trendy pick will pick Baltimore or Buffalo. That'll be the trendy pick. But for right now, I just have a really hard time. Can Houston play 4 quarter? I think they can keep this close. I do. We saw Denver keep it close a little bit at times. The missed field goal obviously totally, screwed them. But I don't know if they have 4. Like Nico, the one X factor, you mentioned Nico Collins, no one can cover him. Like if you look, there's a metric that came out. It was kind of separation, yards per catch, yards per route run versus man and zone. Nico he breaks the chart against man cover. I mean, it's really actually pretty insane. Like him and can't remember who else was on there. That he's miles ahead of Chase and Jefferson. It's disgusting. He has every capability to go 10 for 250 and 3 touchdowns, and you're like, I don't know what just happened. Is Nico Collins the best receiver? I can see a small path. That's the talking point on First Take on Monday morning. But there's a 95% chance that's not the case.
I think Spags will be creative with him as well. I wouldn't surprise me to see I'll say it's the old school Patriots approach. They're not the only team that used to do it, but Belichick would take the second best corner and shade the safety over the top on the best receiver, and then take McDuffie in this case and put him on whomever you want on the other side and sort of go that route. Encourage you to either throw it into double coverage, or I'm going to have my best guy on your second or third best guy and watch my guy eat. The Tooney thing is interesting too to me. 130 snaps against the pass rush this year as the left tackle, no sacks allowed. But he did get some time in that game at left tackle against the Texans, and he gave up multiple pressures. It was 8 snaps in the pass situation. It was 8 snaps, 3 pressures. So it's not like there was still stuff being done against him. And granted, that was sort of, he's been in the role now more full-time the last few weeks or their last couple games. But that'll be an interesting one to watch because both of those guys are capable of completely taking the game over. Let's go to the nightcap. Commanders at Lions, Saturday, 8 p.m. Can Jaden Daniels continue this ridiculous rookie season that really had a 2-game dip somewhere in the middle there? He and Cliff Kingsbury, there was a little thing there for 2 or 3 weeks. But before that, it was elite. And after that, it's been pretty damn elite too. Can they take that into Detroit against a defense that, as we talked about, since the calendar turned to December, they played 1 good game defensively. Now, that game just so happened to be in Week 18 when the number 1 seed was on the line against Minnesota. And they dominated Sam Darnold and maybe pushed Sam into a bad place. They get carried over in their wild card round loss to the Rams. But I think they're capable of putting points on the board. I saw something. It was something about unders on punts. Total punts in this game was 6.5 or 5.5, and they're like, take the under, because I don't know that either team is capable of forcing punts. And of course, we both know that with Dan Quinn and Dan Campbell, going forward on 4th down is, if you're within 4th and 6, it's on the table.
Yeah, this one I've kind of tried to find a path how Washington beats them, and it's kind of the Tampa Bay path of the quarterback being ballsy enough that they just don't care, and can Terry McLaurin win two really crucial go balls, 50-50 go balls, contested catches against Terrion Arnold or whoever they're going to run out there, or Mickens or whoever it's going to be. Like, can he win two of them? And the Vikings didn't win any of them against the Lions in Week 18. Aaron Glenn was fantastic. I think Aaron Glenn's stock has never been higher. Mm-hmm. But that pass rush or lack thereof still scares me because I don't think Washington's offensive line is great by any means. Can Jaden hurt them on a couple of man pressures? Does Aaron Glenn not pressure him as much because he doesn't want him to run? Their game plan is going to be very interesting here from a defensive side. From Washington on defense, they're going to need to create at least 2 turnovers, I think, to win this game. Can you punch one out? Can you limit Gibbs? We talk about this with the Lions every week. If Jahmyr Gibbs gets loose for 2 touchdowns, there's nothing more deflating as a defense than giving up a 75-yard touchdown run when one guy misses a run fit and he makes one guy miss, and it's like, God, like that sucked. Can you get one dumb Goff fumble? One he trips back. Goff's he always has like 1 or 2 in him, and a game. It's just, can you turn him over, or do you drop that? Do you miss it? Whatever. And as crazy as it sounds, like, can they block a kick? Can they hit a 55-yarder in the dome and that they probably wouldn't make outside, whatever it may be? Those are just the little things you need to upset a team like this on a 1 seed on the road. I always bring it back to that 2010 Jets-Patriots game because the Patriots are rolling and they had the time off. They kind of felt like they were starting to get healthy a little bit. And you had the one Brady mistake. Brady makes one mistake and it's like, ooh, that we just stole possession there. Can you steal a possession?
Yeah, that to me is the key, right? Because their offense is so damn good that even with the week off, and the way Ben's been cooking all year long or the last couple of years, they're going to score points. So the question is, would you be
aggressive if you were Washington going for it? Because Tampa tried to match it, and I don't know if that's the right call. You usually are like, take the points, man. Like, is that how we need to approach this?
I guess that's going to be a real early feel for the game. Like, are you immediately you come out with this plan, and if they go down the field and score on you and get it back and go down and score on you again, it's like, all right, well, we're going to have to score 35 today. That's the only way we're going to win. I like the idea of stealing possessions. Not easy to do, but Goff will put one in harm's way. Maybe their front four in particular can create some pressure where they don't have to blitz and create that sort of thing. You can get the pressure with 4 and then force him to make a mistake. But that offensive line has been really good. David Montgomery expected back in this game. So Sonic and Knuckles, Gibbs and Montgomery back together again. Although you could clearly make the argument that Gibbs should be out there 85% of the time, right? Like, if you want to put Montgomery down there in the, inside the 10, 15, fine. You want to give
the 2 things you mentioned, Montgomery. Can they get some 2-back stuff? And as much as Bobby Wagner's a Hall of Famer, and I know he's like a gazillion-time All-Pro, he still can bring the boom, but he did get run over by Baker last week, which was funny. And he's, again, a guy that's much more washed than people want to admit, all due respect. But I want Jahmyr Gibbs and him one-on-one in the open field because Bobby does not run anymore the way he used to, and that's okay. I get it. He's, again, going to, stroll into Canton. But that, and I would just say if I'm Dan Quinn – at certain points, you might take 3. I think if you get a stop on them, I know you want to be aggressive and try to, if we get them on a 4th down stop, we got to score a touchdown. Don't try to, sometimes you don't have to beat the other team at their own game that they're the best in the league at. Like, I know it sounds maybe kind of dumb, but San Francisco last year, I felt like Kyle didn't fall into the trap. And the Lions kind of self-destructed by not taking 3 at times and going for it. And, you just lose possessions. And, as much as it might work sometimes, it doesn't work other times. And the Niners were like, stay in it, stay in it, stay in it. And then they made a couple mistakes and boom, they ran them over. Like, if you're Washington, this is no pressure. This is you are like a pig and bleep right now.
This is the classic. This is the house money.
House money game.
You weren't supposed to make the playoffs. Not only did you make the playoffs, you won 12 games. Then you won a playoff game in Tampa. You're way, way, way ahead of schedule. All of a sudden, you're a little, with Jaden, you become like, if people talk here in New England, like, oh, with Vrabel and Drake May, are they now an attractive destination for free agents? Well, they've won 4 games in each of the last 2 years. Jaden Daniels just won 12 games, has won 6 games in the fourth quarter. Like 4 of those on the last play of the game or something ridiculous. Like they've become sort of an it team, and we'll probably get a good bounce from that in the offseason. So to your point,
you know,
it's like,
just like if it's, let's just say it's, I don't know, 13-7 Commanders, 4 to go in the second quarter, you get a big stop. And I don't know, their lines go 4th and 2. You stop them on their own, on the Lion, or your own 45, or the Lions plus, Lions are in plus territory. My goal is get points on the next drive so that you're up to score. It's a 2-possession game. Don't fall in love with they went for 4th down, so now we have to. There's times to go for it. I just felt like Tampa tried to play Washington's game last weekend, and it killed them. And I felt like last year, like I said, like San Francisco didn't fall. This is who we are. Kyle Shanahan is not his game is not the hyper aggressive game. I just feel like always be very weary of like you go on the road and trying to beat the team at their own game, maybe not make them play your game. And if you're Washington, you want to get into a really gross dogfight that it's 20-16 with 3 to go in the fourth quarter. Your ball, you got a shot with Jaden and the ball in his hands. 45-41, it doesn't feel like it's really their game.
If you want to go to games, not just the playoff games, you can still do it. We're taping this on Thursday. You could go get your tickets and you could fly out, you get an airline ticket, go somewhere, get in your car, drive. And of course, there's also NHL, NBA, all that kind of stuff going on. Just use Game Time. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats. You don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets to find the best value. Download the Game Time app. Create an account. Use the code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account. Redeem the code CLNS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed. Let's get to the Sunday games. The early game, Rams at the Eagles. What's the recipe for an upset here if you're the Rams? And coming off, again, a dominating defensive performance against the Vikings in Phoenix, as you had to go through the entire scenario that they're still going through out in LA with the fires. The game got moved to Phoenix. Multiple planes taking family, dogs, cats onto the plane. Like they went through that whole thing, and just an emotional performance, an excellent performance. They get the job done. But now, 6 days later, you're on a plane, you're back to the East Coast, and you're playing a team that, while they didn't look awesome, we know the talent of that roster. How do the Rams pull this one off? Can they?
Not only can they, I'm going to pick them.
Of course, you're sticking with your guys.
I got my preseason picks. All 4 alive, so I'm gonna keep going.
Rub it in.
They're very 2021 Rams-ish. I know there was more stars on that Rams team in 2021, but they're the same formula. It's Matt Stafford. It's Puka more in the Cooper Kupp role. Cooper Kupp more in the Odell role. The running game is better than it was in 21. The offensive line's better. They are really good on the road. And I know I'm not even throw stats to me all you want. The eye test tells me when they go on the road, the defense plays way different. Other than the Arizona game this year, they went into Seattle. They went in, you can say whatever. It was a 1:00 start in MetLife, and the Jets were playing better football, and they went in there and had no business winning that game, but the defense clamped down when they needed to, and they made plays. They obviously went into San Francisco late in the year in bad weather, got the job done. They are good on the road. Matt Stafford's not going to be flustered by a crowd. They were really good last year in Detroit, this year and then last year too. They kind of just embraced, and I felt like in 21, I know they were the home team a lot, but there was a lot of that, the Bucs game, they had every chance to blow that. That popped up on my feed today of the Brady. It was this is what Brady was when he became an anarchist with the way it was just he had no business being in that game. And they clutch moment. Stafford will be there. I think the emotional high of it, and I know it's very different than those Red Sox teams that dealt with stuff and the Yankee teams, and those are very much different things. Those are obviously man-made incidents versus Mother Nature, but even the Saints and stuff, when these weird, horrible things happen and these teams embrace what's going on, you play for a little bit more, you get this jolt, the extra jolt, you get a turbo boost. You saw McVay embracing that. I think there's a lot of different things. I think Philly still this grinding your teeth watching them. Last week should have been, I know I picked the Packers, but after the first drive, it was like the first play, you're like, dude, this game is going to be a disaster. The Packers had every chance to get one stop there, and like that should not have been a ball game. I still think Hurts is not seeing the field at all. I know Dan Orlovsky and others put more of the onus on the receivers and stuff. The AJ Brown thing is weird, and I know everyone wants to absolve it because it's funny, and I get it's funny because they're winning, but I don't think it's that funny. Like I don't. It's a playoff game, and you're reading a book, and it's very. There's just something that's been off for a while. These things have not subsided. So Jared Verse, the rest of this defensive line, Young, and on all these guys are hitting the piss out of the quarterback.
Sure, but okay, so fair. 255 yards rushing for Saquon Barkley when the two teams met.
Doesn't this feel like the Rams team, though?
To a degree, yes. Here's my thing with this, though.
They light up front.
That's my concern. The Eagles are big, physical football team who clearly are a run-first football team and a run-second football team, and the way the quarterback's playing should be a run-third football team.
Should be. That you're going to prove my point, though.
They sort of dialed it back last week. I mean, what did Hurts throw for like 130? I mean, I think he threw 21 times.
They go down 7-0, right? Let's just say they go down 7-0, and their first drive's 3 and out. They run the ball twice. Rams are juiced up, early in the game. Second drive's not great either. First down or 2. Offensive coordinators former quarterbacks, we know this, love to abandon the run. Is there a world in which they can get a couple stops early and force Kellen Moore into like, ooh, we got to throw the ball. AJ's getting frustrated. The crowd's you hear the Philly crowd doing doing the whole thing. Like, that's the path, right? It's get up on them early and get that crowd quiet and restless and almost angry at the Eagles. And
that's how it works there in Philly for sure. Look, I think the simple answer to this is in terms of the AJ Brown thing that continues to happen there. I'm getting them involved early. It's a wide receiver screen. Just a little simple. My quarterback can't screw that up. Make a play, get some physical contact. Maybe you rip off a 12, 14-yard gain, feeling good, hype the crowd up, whatever. But I'm running the ball a ton. And if I'm Sirianni, and look, Nick's prone to be emotional too. But if Kellen Moore starts, if it goes in the direction you were saying, and Kellen Moore starts just ignoring Saquon in the run game, I'm on the headset saying, dude, I don't, whatever, 10-0, 14-0 is nothing in the first quarter or the early second quarter. We can still continue to run the ball. We need to continue to run the ball. We have the more physical group up front, and we certainly don't want to expose our quarterback to situations where it's 3rd and long and he has to process, read, and make accurate throws because it's just not something that he's been particularly good at this year. And they can blame the receivers. I'm not saying the receivers aren't involved. I have not liked the AJ Brown thing, and I'm getting ready for Vrabel loved AJ Brown. I mean, it's already coming. It's already people are
good. Vrabel is like, oh yeah, we'll see.
I just would say to that, by the way, he loved AJ Brown. That was how long ago? And how much was AJ Brown making then versus how much is AJ Brown making now? That's 2 contracts ago for AJ Brown because he got the new contract to go to Philly, and then he didn't like the contract 2 years in and got another bump in Philly. Now he's like a $30 million player.
Pick 38 and pick, I don't know, pick 107. Would you move for AJ Brown? Probably, right? Do the Pats?
Yeah, I think long and hard about it.
If you're the Eagles, you probably take the money, reinvest it, a little bit here, a little bit there. If you're the Patriots, you'd much rather that than Debo and like Tyreek.
No,
I still would have my
Tyreek. No, I'm even DK worries me. DK's, you want to talk about bad? We're talking about AJ with the bad body language. DK had bad body language all year long. So,
or you try to package both the threes. Maybe you have the extra 3 to just say, take both of our threes and we'll eat the money for the pay. I don't know. It just feel like that's the.
I mean, if you could get AJ Brown for 2 threes, and you felt good about getting.
Devontae just went for a 3, but Devontae was older.
Yep.
He went for a 4 condition. Was a conditional 3. Maybe 2 threes and a future 4 that becomes a 2 if the Patriots make the play. Something like that. could see that being maybe a package just because, again, AJ's making some serious change.
Serious change. And again, he may help transform the offense, but then how much is he going to transform the offense? I mean, he would a lot, obviously.
Stuff.
Yeah, it's just there's stuff there. I don't know. I think the Rams will give them a fight, but I think by the second half, the Rams
Running the gas a little bit.
Cinderella,
they need Puka and Cooper Kupp and Kyron Williams to play.
And Cooper just hasn't been.
I don't
know if he's hurt or if he's just. But as someone said, it's Puka's in the Kupp role from before, and now where's Kupp? Like Kupp needs to be. They need more.
They need more to play. He was great in that first half, and then he goes out. Can he? You just got to throw multiple things at this team, but Green Bay ran the football last week. Josh Jacobs was really good.
Yep.
Kyron Williams, if he doesn't fumble, is really good. He put the ball on the turf again last week too. It's got to be.
And now cold weather. We're talking 20 degrees, and I think
it's like he's a Notre Dame guy. Is he maybe like
rainy?
I don't know. Yeah, this is going to be that's just why the Rams are either going to win this game or it's going to be like one of those slow death, 27-17, but they run for 275. There's one or two ways.
Yeah, I'm just like I said. I think my plan would be simple. I'm just going to keep giving it to Saquon. All right, let's go to the one that everybody's been talking about.
What's going on? What's any good quarterbacks in this game?
There might be. The guys that'll finish 1-2 in the MVP voting, depending on I don't know who's going to do what in Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. So the Bills host the Ravens Sunday night. Going to be brutally cold for this game. I think we're talking around zero, essentially, or real feel of around zero. Both quarterbacks, as awesome as they've been in the regular season, have a playoff hurdle that they have to overcome. Lamar is 1-3 in the divisional round and beyond in his career. Josh Allen is 1-4 in the divisional round and beyond, and his only win came versus the Ravens in 2020. That was the Teron Johnson 103-yard interception return for a touchdown. Now, Josh Allen's postseason numbers are phenomenal, whereas Lamar's are not. So there's where the cutoff point is. And as I like to remind people that say, what's Josh won? I would tell you, he had the Chiefs beat and 13 seconds happened. And the 13 seconds had nothing to do with him. It had everything to do with his head coach, who is a question mark as we go into the postseason as well, because he's had moments. He even had a moment this year against the Ravens in which they called that random throwback play and almost got Allen killed and whatever, just a disaster. Clock management stuff with him as well. Special teams coach was involved in the 13 seconds. Leslie Frazier was involved in the 13 seconds, no longer with the football team, although he did interview for the Dallas Cowboy head coaching job. There's a Rooney Rule maneuver for you right there. The Ravens are favored on the road as of this taping, again, Thursday, 5:19 in the afternoon, by 1.5. Should the Ravens be favored, and considering the way both teams are playing, is this the real? I know they will probably have to go through Kansas City, but is this, as we were talking about, is this the real matchup for supremacy in the AFC?
Oh man,
they're both better team. The Ravens are I think far more talented than Kansas City. Not just, far. That's a stretch. They're more talented, and the Bills beat the Chiefs by whatever it was, 8, 11 points.
It was like there's 2 possessions. Yep. Man, this is one of those games where just sit back and enjoy it. I will be very curious who plays tighter on Sunday. These Josh and Lamar can say all they want. They don't, I don't listen to this. I don't listen to that.
Yeah, you know what's funny about that? So I was listening to the press conferences in the last 24 hours. Lamar didn't even get asked about. Actually, Lamar didn't get asked about playoff performances and the sort of the hurdle that he has to overcome here. He didn't even get asked about it. Josh got asked about just as a team. The divisional round's been the round where you guys have had issues because, of course, they've run into the Chiefs multiple times in that spot. But it was an interesting sort of approach. Like the Baltimore people didn't even want to go there with Lamar because they probably figure the answer I'm going to get is going to be crap. But
Yeah.
neither one of them went there.
I just the reason I say that is because these guys, they love to do the whole either I don't read everything or I see everything and I don't read into it. And Josh, and it's all about the team and whatever, man. Like I appreciate the public statements, but the Bills and Ravens both have played tight during playoff games. They've either coached tight or played tight during playoff games the last forever, but specifically the last half decade. I think that's fair to say. I think Ravens and Bills fans would admit it. I think, shockingly, Nick Wright and Chris Broussard, maybe the first time in their life, made a really nice point and said they could both go 39 of 50 for 500 yards and 5 touchdowns and lose in 5 overtimes. Whoever doesn't win this game is going to get absolutely obliterated on Monday morning on every debate show and talk show around the country. And it's true. I think Lamar needs this game more than anybody. I think if I ranked it, Mike, I'll give you do your top 4. I'll do my top 4. I think it's 1 Lamar, 2 Sean McDermott, 3 Josh Allen, 4 the Ravens organization. The reason I would put it that way is I think the Ravens, since they won the Super Bowl, and really, frankly, since they had a monkey off their back in 2012, but there was a 11-year stretch there where it was like they were amazing every year and just could not get over the hump. They couldn't beat New England when it mattered. They, had some other moments, the Colts and whatever. But there was always like elite defense, but like couldn't replicate fully what happened in 2001. They won the Super Bowl, and it's kind of been the same pattern of like really close, amazing regular seasons, cannot get it done in the playoffs. And it starts with Lamar. And until last week, outside of maybe the Titans game in 2020, I feel like Lamar's been pretty underwhelming in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. He's probably going to win his 3rd MVP this year and will have not been further than the divisional round but once. And in that game, pooped down his leg a little bit. And again, Zay Flowers doesn't fumble, and you can do the whole thing, but the results are the results. Big Ben doesn't, complete it to Antonio Brown until 10. The Jets beat the Packers, and Rodgers has no Super Bowls. We can do the whole thing. That's what happened. So that's why I think he has a little more pressure. Josh has had really good playoff success individually, but they've really struggled here. They always in the game and something goes wrong. That's just why I'd have Lamar more pressure. And McDermott to me is 2, and I could argue he's 1. If they don't win this game, he's probably fired, right? Like, I understand.
No, it's no, because even though
I'm not saying fire, by the way. I'm just saying, aren't people going to do the whole, dude, can't win?
They might, but I would just say that the easy way to combat that is like, dude, you thought we weren't going to win the division this year. You thought we were going to be like a 10-win team this year. We were stepping back, and we went. Not only did we not, we locked up the 2nd seed. We beat Kansas City this year. We went from not fulfilling our destiny to now being ahead of schedule again on this second turn of the
I wouldn't fire him either. I think people in Buffalo are going to do the whole like, dude, you're a really good regular season coach, but when it comes to the playoffs, you get out coached by the elite guys. That's just my one fear for them for him is I don't know, what if Baltimore runs all over them and it's like they run for 300 plus and if they win 28.
Baltimore should run all over them because as we talked about from before the season started,
keep that pass defense off the field because they're still not elite.
Yeah, they're light as can be. Just like get after them in that regard. And again, cold weather. Like, do you want to? Not that you ever want to tackle Derrick Henry. Do you want to tackle Derrick Henry in 0-degree weather? Like, get him on the outside, get him on the edge, get him to the second level. Those poor sons of guns are going to be like, oh, really? I'm going to be the next guy to get the get run over, or the next guy to get the straight arm to hell. Yeah, I don't disagree with your ranking there. I think the sort of the Baltimore organization, like they're good. They're almost always good. But we had this conversation about Harbaugh. Like, it's been a couple moments here since winning the title where it's like, are they at the end of the road with Harbaugh? And then they find a way to sort of get out of it, and obviously Lamar and the Todd Monken.
Harbaugh's a little more Tomlin-ish than people want to admit.
Oh yeah, there's definitely that. Like, so you have this again, same thing. He raises the floor. Your floor is high. You're in the playoffs. You're gonna be a good team. But in the biggest moments, and in January, there've been a lot of
this stuff going on.
Yeah, like they should be a little bit better. Should they have won another title in there? Should something more have happened with this football team? And so I just think there's more pressure on them. I just think they're the better team. So, like, if they can weather the early crowd storm, because it's going to be absolutely banana. I mean, those people are going to be drinking from 8 o'clock in the morning until 8 o'clock at night. And it's going to be cold. So it'll be bananas in there. Can you weather that early crowd storm? And if you can, and Lamar settles into a good groove and you're able to run the ball with Henry, which they've been able to do every week this year, and they should be able to do against Buffalo again, then Buffalo's going to have to win the game 38-35.
Yeah.
And I don't know that, and their offense is good enough to put up in the high 20s. Can they get to that next place? Cooper has been a good ad for them, but hasn't changed them dramatically. Coleman's had moments, but he's still a rookie. Shakir's your best receiver, and he's damn good. I love him. I would take him on my team 10 times out of 10. He's not the game-breaking type guy. He's not the guy, we can't cover this dude. That's not the kind of player he is. So I just think it's going to end up having to be a shootout. And I would take Lamar and his weapons, even if it appears, again, we're taping this Thursday, it appears Zay Flowers is not going to play in this game. At least that's what it's trending for. Has not been on the practice field since injuring the knee in the final week of the season. But I can't wait for the game. I'm fired up for the game. I don't want to fast forward through the weekend because we're running out of football. That said, that's the game that I've had circled, and I think a lot of people have. And hopefully it lives up to the billing. Just give me a close game, fourth quarter, and let those two guys ball out and see who can win it.
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
All right, let's do prize picks before we get out of here and send you on your merry way. I have 4. I feel outstanding about my picks. First of all, I'm going to start with Derrick Henry, more than a half a touchdown, because he scores a touchdown every week, at least one. I'll give you this one. Xavier Worthy, more than 4.5 yards rushing. They like to get him his touches. He's had 2 or 3 rushes in every game, it seems, in the last 6 to 8 weeks. I think he gets that number easily. Josh Allen, to the script that I'm talking about, more than 240.5 yards passing. And then because it's the playoffs, we see Patrick Mahomes take off in these games. So I'm going to have his long run of more than 12.5 yards. So there you go. Derrick Henry, more than a half touchdown. Worthy, more than 4.5 yards rushing. Josh Allen, more than 240.5 yards passing. And Pat Mahomes, long rush of more than 12.5 yards. Who you got?
I got James Cook, rushing plus receiving, more than 70.5 yards. I think the only way Buffalo wins this game is if they keep Baltimore off the field. And Baltimore is probably going to do everything they can to stop Josh Allen. James Cook should be able to hit 70 and a half or less than 47.5 rushing yards for David Montgomery. I just think he'll be a short yardage. Try to have him punch in near the goal line. There's no way he's fully healthy. And frankly, the way Jahmyr Gibbs is playing, you want him on the field as much as possible. Yep. I'm gonna go Nico Collins more receiving yards. I think the only way they win this game is if he is an absolute unit. So those are my 3. Nico Collins, more yards. James Cook, more yards and receiving and rushing yards combined, and less rushing yards for David Montgomery.
Awesome. People enjoy the weekend. Again, let's hope it is what everybody keeps talking about, the best weekend of football of the year. He is Will Parkinson. I'm Mike Giardi. Remember to like, listen, subscribe, do all those wonderful things, rate, review. Wherever you get your podcasts, we are there. Of course, you can watch it on YouTube as well. We will see you again on Monday, breaking down the games. And maybe, just maybe, we'll have another 20 guys that the Jets have interviewed for the general manager jobs and head coaching. And maybe someone else will have actually hired a coach at that point. We'll see.
They might be hiring John Eric Sullivan. We'll see if that actually happens. But Brian Gutekunst said we will miss him. He had a second interview today. He worked with, obviously, the Titans upper management. So we'll cover that if that happens, before Monday.
Absolutely. All right, people, have a good weekend. See you.